Wartales has taken me by surprise. I'm a big CRPG player, so I thought I knew what to expect when going in. I was wrong. This game is such a mishmash of different game styles, in a good way, but that means it has a lot of mechanics and systems, which can be particularly difficult for non-RPG players. To make things more challenging, the game doesn't do much tutorializing or handholding, so a lot of it is figured out via trial and error, or just clicking buttons, which describes a lot of what I did. We're not going to cover every single thing in this video because that would turn it into a movie, but we will cover everything that is important to understanding how to play the game, which is still a lot. When you first start, you have a few choices to make. The first is your destiny. It has 3 parts. What you choose here impacts your starting bonuses, debuffs, and companions. Anything that you see grayed out means that it's dependent on DLC that you don't have. Once you choose these 3 parts, you will get 2 exploration mode options. Now, if you're new to these types of games or are looking for a more balanced challenge, I would recommend going with adaptive exploration, so the regions adapt to your group size and the unit's power. However, if you prefer, you can do region-locked exploration, so each region of the world has its own difficulty from the start, and you're going to have to expand and improve your party before you can explore the more dangerous areas. Now you will be able to set the difficulty for both combat and survival, as well as how often you can save. If you're new to CRPGs and survival games, I would go with Novice for both and Free for Save mode. If you have experience in one or both of these genres and you want a little bit of a challenge, go with Experienced for both and still Free for Save mode. If you want to get into something more hardcore later on, feel free, but I would recommend starting here even if you do have experience in these genres. Next up is character customization. You will always start with 4 companions and a pony. Although most of the changes here are aesthetic, you can also change their name by clicking on these 3 dots, their starting weapon for some of the classes, their utility, which means their combat skill, and their traits. You can select 1 positive trait for free. If you want to select a second positive trait, you will also have to select 1 negative trait. Don't forget to customize your pony as well. Once your customization is done, it'll pop you into the world with a small snippet of information about your companions. You will start in Tiltron County, and it will be up to you to explore the area, find special locations, resources, etc. But we'll go over any significant locations to be aware of. Let's review all of the icons and buttons on your main screen. Starting with your top left, you've got an icon with a picture of some faces and a number 5. That is your companions menu, which by default is open. Next to that is an icon that looks like a book and the bar next to it. That is your knowledge points. The knowledge points you gain can be used to learn things from your compendium, and we'll get to that soon. Next is the icon that looks like a stick with a bundle. That is the scenario for the region. This doesn't provide any information to you until you trigger the first region-relevant event. Then after that is the star with a circle through it, which is your suspicion level. You can accrue suspicion when you commit crimes, and doing so can get the local guards after you. Now on to the top right. First is the smiley face, which is happiness. That should be easy to remember. You can treat happiness like a resource because it basically is in this game. Happiness is important in keeping your companions healthy and cooperative. You can see when hovering over the icon that really low happiness can have consequences just as high happiness can have bonuses. The primary ways to keep your companions happy are feeding them enough during each rest and paying them their wages when due. You will have other options for raising or lowering their happiness, but these are the 2 most important parts of it. Next is the icon of a sword surrounded by branches. This is your influence. You gain influence through your deeds, and influence is necessary for recruiting new companions, as well as sometimes performing certain actions. You will find opportunities as you are exploring to gain influence. Next to that is this orange diamond, which is your Valor points. Valor points are a resource used in combat to perform certain skills. You regain some Valor points automatically during rest, but there will be some opportunities to regain extra points as your characters level up and as you learn more things from the compendium. Next to that is a chicken leg, which you can safely assume means food. Because Wartales has survival elements, you will also need to keep plenty of food on hand to feed your companions every time you rest at camp. Food can come from merchants, from natural resources while exploring, or from killing wild animals. Sometimes characters will have a trait that causes them to only eat meat or to eat vegetarian. And finally, there is the bag of money, which is indeed to represent your money or crowns. Money is a very important resource because it is needed to buy food, to recruit companions, to pay companions' wages, and sometimes to fix armor or heal wounds. You can never have too much. Now we have the buttons on the bottom right. The first one is a tent. It's what you use for camping. You will know when it's time to camp by the progress bar in the top middle of the screen under the day and time. As that bar decreases, your companions are growing more tired. When it's empty and it starts to refill a red, it's time to camp. Next is the chest. That is your inventory. It is good to check in on it to see how you're doing on food, if you've got any new armor or weapons to equip, and things like that. Then there's the map. If you're like me and have no sense of direction, you'll want to open this up frequently. This game uses the fog of war method, meaning that areas of the map are hidden until you start exploring them. Then you have the book, which is your compendium. The compendium is important to remember because it is where you put your knowledge points to good use, gaining new traits, learning how to build equipment for your camp, new dishes to cook, and others. You only have knowledge and workshop tabs unlocked when you start, but you will unlock the others as you play. Then you have the paths icon. This is a rather unique choice for a turn-based RPG like Wartales, but essentially, there are challenges in the 4 different paths, each represented by a flag, and you can complete them to earn PP points. I can't say that without laughing. Such a child. And you complete them to get points, and those points unlock knowledge points specific to that path. You can use those points to learn more traits that help your companions. If either the compendium or the paths icon have an exclamation point on them, make sure to check on them. You don't want to miss out on what they add to the game. There are a number of classes available, but you cannot change the class of the character. So what you see is what you get. However, the specializations and skills that you get access to as characters level up give you the option to have a diverse team. The base classes are Warrior, a powerful melee class that excels at 1v1 combat and taking a beating. Pugilist, another powerful melee class but excellent at damage rather than taking hits. Brute, a melee class that excels at fighting multiple enemies at once and can tank hits. Swordsman, a more balanced melee class. Crossbowman, a high damage ranged class. Ranger, a melee class focused on poison and projectiles. Spearman, a melee class that offers support to allies. And Archer, a highly mobile but squishy ranged class. Only the Crossbowman and the Archer are ranged fighters. Despite Ranger typically being the name of a class that uses bows, in Wartales, Ranger is basically a rogue, fighting with daggers and dealing more damage from behind. Each base class has 3 or 4 specializations that you will get to choose from. In addition to classes and specializations, each character gets a profession. The profession they take is up to you. Even if they already have a profession, you can switch it. Each profession has its own important role in providing your team with valuable resources and/or abilities. There are items throughout the world that will require a certain profession to use them or interact with them. You will eventually want access to each one. The professions are the tinker, the woodcutter, the alchemist, the miner, the scholar, the angler, the bard, the blacksmith, the hunter, the cook, the thief, and the brewer. The tinker is basically your craftsman, able to make useful items like rope, fish hooks, and various camping gear. The woodcutter, not surprisingly, cuts wood. Wood is a resource, like many other things in the game. The alchemist makes potions and oils, including medicine, which you'll likely need a lot of. The miner, mines. You'll need the ore they mine for things like fish hooks, pitons, etc. Are they pythons or pitons? The scholar studies and analyzes, providing knowledge points to your party. The angler is a fisherman, supplying you with a good source of food. The bard is a musician who can sing and play the lute at inns to gain your party influence and money. The blacksmith makes and repairs gear that is essential for your characters during combat. The hunter tracks prey, leading to combat with animals that provide more bonuses, as well as opportunities to capture stronger animal companions. The cook makes meals using the ingredients available to them, and cooked food fills up characters faster. The thief steals things. Shocker, I know. You'll need them for unlocking chests, and they can help with freeing prisoners too. The brewer makes alcohol, which helps with increasing characters' happiness. Although the brewer profession was a free upgrade, that particular profession isn't fully usable without the Tavern DLC. When deciding what profession to give a character, make sure to check what its bonuses are, as those bonuses determine what classes would be a good match with that profession. You can use the profession with any class, but there are more advantages if you match the profession with a class that benefits from the bonuses. When you open a character sheet, you'll see it is divided into 3 sections. So we'll take it from left to right. Under the character's name, which you can change if desired, you will see their class, their level, and if applicable, their faction. The top left arrow is for opening the aptitude points menu, and the top right icon is their profession. If you want to change their profession, you can click on the icon to open the menu and select a different one. Hovering over it will show you their progression in the job, what it allows them to do, and its bonuses. The bottom left icon is for opening the relationships menu. The bottom right is a drop-down menu to change their name, dismiss them, or add them to your reserves. Adding them to your reserves is just basically getting them out of camp, which at this time seems pretty pointless, as you still have to feed and pay them. In the next section, you have defense, equipment, and skills. Under defense, you have 2 bars, a gray one and a red one. The gray one is your armor, and the red is your health. For equipment, your human party members can have headgear, body armor, 1 or 2 weapons, or a weapon and a shield, a belt accessory, and a backpack accessory. Under that, the skills are listed. Most of the skills you acquire will be from leveling up, but you may see some skills that come from weapons or equipment there as well, depending on what the character has on them. The last section is divided into injuries and status, experience, attributes, and traits. Injuries and status will let you know what kind of injury your character has suffered, or if they have a status like exhausted. Experience lets you know how much more XP is needed before that character levels up. Attributes are all of the stats you can raise during your leveling up, as well as the character's wages, how much food they consume, and how much weight they can carry. Traits can be acquired throughout the game by your character's actions. Some have buffs, while others have debuffs. For an animal's character sheet, everything is set up the same way, but you'll see that their equipment options are much more limited. Most will just have 1 slot open, which could be filled by saddlebags for greater carrying capacity, or horseshoes if they're a pony. If your pony becomes a war pony, they will get an extra slot for armor. Equipment slots will be expanded at higher levels. When a character has enough XP to level up, you'll get a yellow arrow icon beneath their portrait. Right-click on their portrait to bring up their character sheet, and then click on the flashing arrow. You will see some plus signs next to some of the attributes. These are the ones that you can currently increase, and by how much. Which attributes you focus on should depend on the character. Classes like brutes and warriors will use skills that depend on strength, whereas classes like crossbowmen and pugilists use skills that depend on dexterity. Constitution is for making the character more tanky. Willpower increases critical hit, company morale, and at 15 points, it will make them survive their first deadly blow. Critical hit is to increase the chances of getting a critical hit, and movement is to allow your character more mobility during fights. Base these choices on the character's class, skills, and what role you want them to take during battle. You'll notice that each character, including the animals, have specialization trees. These trees of skills give you flexibility in how you build the characters, allowing you to have multiple of the same class that take on different roles. These trees tell you at what levels you'll unlock a new skill. The group doesn't stop at your first 4 characters in your pony, not even close. Once you reach the town within Tiltron County, Stromcap, you will be able to recruit more characters at the inn when you have the necessary influence and money. In addition, you can recruit animals. Well, more like kidnap them, but they forgive you once they wake up. Capturing animals will require the rope resource, and how much rope is needed depends on the type of animal. If you want some animals that you don't have to knock out for cooperation, you can buy some more ponies. You can also take prisoners by capturing humans during battles, just like you capture animals. The prisoners can be recruited to be another active fighter, or they can be assigned to work at camp. If you prefer to play as a good character, you can just take those prisoners to jail instead. One of the great things about Wartales is that it lets you go a bit wild with your party size, but that doesn't come without consequences. Every party member means another mouth to feed and another body to heal after combat, and in the case of human companions, another wage to pay. You will be setting up camp in this game a lot because your characters grow tired over time, as mentioned earlier. When you make camp, there are a lot of things to consider. One of those things is the assignment of your characters. When you start out, you'll just have your campfire and anything relevant to the area that you're resting in, such as wood to be chopped down or an altar that can be prayed at. As you progress, you'll unlock recipes for other camping gear, and when you place them in your camp, they become available areas to assign your characters to. The assignments are mostly connected to the professions. For instance, only a cook can be assigned to the cooking pot. But there are some areas, like the strategy table, that do not require a certain profession. It is best to take full advantage of the gear you have at camp, assigning the professions to their appropriate stations, as well as crafting gear and cooking food when you have the right resources. When you are ready to let your party sleep, you right-click on the campfire, and you'll get this pop-up window for feeding them. And if the wages are due, you will have the option of paying them. If you do not meet the food requirements, this will impact happiness. The same goes for not paying wages. Keeping your characters happy is important, as they could leave if happiness drops too low. In addition to food and money, there are a few other resources you should pay close attention to. One would be raw materials. Raw materials allows you to repair your armor, which you will probably need to do after every single fight. The other is medicine. Medicine is how you heal your characters after battle, which you will also probably be doing a lot. You can buy medicine, but you can also craft it if you have an alchemist in your party and you have the right ingredients. Medicine requires empty vials, which you can get by initially buying and using the medicine, 2 comfrey flowers, and 2 snow iris flowers. Keep an eye out for the flowers as you're exploring, because they're found out in the wild. You'll find yourself visiting the town of Stromcap frequently, and this is because of the locations it has to offer. You have the forge. This is where you can get your armor repaired if you've run low on raw materials. You can also purchase some items from the blacksmith and use the forge yourself if one of your characters has the blacksmith profession. There is a town hall, but it's not really there for function, just as part of the story. There's the Three Hares Market, where you buy your food. You can ignore the derelict tavern for now. That's empty unless you have the tavern DLC. There's the apothecary, where you can get healed, craft potions, and buy certain potions and recipes. And finally, there's the Traveler's Feast Inn, where you can rest if you'd prefer more benefits than just camping, recruit more party members, pay for information from the informant, and take bounties to earn crowns. Although not nearly as complex as games like BG3, your characters develop relationships with each other. These relationships can be impacted by options you get during camp, by friendly fire. Yes, this game has it, so watch where you're shooting your arrows and swinging your swords, and other actions. You can check a character's relationships with others by going into their character sheet. You right-click on the portrait, and then you click on this icon in the bottom left corner, the face with a green side and a red side. There you will see their relationships with other party members. Sometimes they won't have any opinions or feelings on others yet, so it isn't unusual to see party members missing from this list. You are motivated to have characters like each other because if they reach the best friend status, they will be stronger in fights while in proximity of their best friend, as well as happier in camp. If characters get really close, there will be a dialogue trigger in camp to allow that character to profess their love to the other. You can let them go for it, have them wait, or just have them remain friends. If they do profess their love, you'll see the couple trait added to their character sheet. Having saved the best for last, it's time to talk about combat. Combat is turn-based, but unlike many other RPGs, the order in which your characters take their turns is not dictated by roles, but rather by you. Enemies and allies, including your animal companions, will have their turns set, but your characters go according to your choices. This allows you to be more tactical in your approach, but also requires more thinking ahead. In addition, you also get the chance to set up your characters on the battlefield before the fighting takes place. They will only be able to be set where the blue squares are, but this also gives more flexibility in how you want to approach the encounter. Each character's turn involves movement, attack, and skills. You'll have a set amount of tiles you can move, which you will see when you select their move action. This is based on their movement attribute. Each character will have a base attack move, which can be used once per turn. In addition, your character will have their skills. The majority of these skills cost valor points, which we discussed earlier, as a type of resource. Some skills, however, can get you more valor points, such as Galvanize. The valor points you gain during combat won't be carried over outside of combat, so you might as well use them. However, valor points are a precious resource in battle and should be used wisely. For example, saving a few valor points for the first aid skill is advisable, as some of your characters are likely to take a beating. When your character attacks an enemy, you often trigger engagement, a status in which that character and that enemy are locked in combat. This leaves them vulnerable to the attacks of others, but also draws that enemy's attention away from other characters. If you want a character to disengage from the enemy, they trigger an attack of opportunity, which means the enemy gets a free attack on them. However, some characters will have the run skill, which allows them to disengage without this trigger. You should be thoughtful about which characters engage with enemies and which ones fight from the sidelines, or engage in guerrilla tactics by using skills like Devious Whirlwind and then running away. You can use positioning to your advantage during battle. If you corner an enemy with two characters while they are engaged in combat, you will trigger Surrounded, which causes the enemy to take 20% extra damage. But be careful, because it works both ways. Your characters can also get surrounded. Characters can die during combat, and this game has permadeath, but you have an opportunity to save them before they go down for good. When a character reaches 0 hit points, they will be considered dying. This means that the next time they take damage, they are killed. This damage can be direct, like from an enemy hitting them, or indirect, like from being on fire. If you're able to heal them before they take damage again, you will prevent their death. This is why keeping valor points available for the first aid skill is so important. As discussed earlier, you can capture animals, or people, during combat. You must get them down to lower than 50% of their health, and they must be a type of unit you can capture. This means that the unit must not be named, must not be a leader, and must not be seasoned, which will be marked by a red icon that kind of looks like a ninja star. Once you capture them, they are knocked out and unable to fight. Also mentioned earlier is friendly fire. You need to be careful about this, especially when dealing with skills like Flaming Arrow. Not only will you cause damage to your other characters if you hit them, but you'll also negatively impact the relationship between the two characters. You can see who is in your area of effect before triggering the attack, so pay attention and only risk it if absolutely necessary. Sometimes when you are in combat, There are allied characters that are considered important and need to be kept alive. These characters will be marked with an exclamation point over their heads. The easiest way to keep them alive is to make sure the enemies are engaging in combat with your characters rather than the allies. On battlefields, you will often notice some objects that light up red when you hover over them. That is because they are interactable. For example, a trap on the ground will cause damage to anybody who gets too close to it. A rusty hatchet can be picked up and thrown at an enemy. Sometimes it's not worth manipulating your character's movement to interact with the objects, and other times it is. You will need to use your best judgment during each fight, but don't overanalyze it. And lastly, there are many conditions that can occur during combat. There are way too many for me to go over, but you should be aware that they exist and will impact your characters during combat, such as poison, burning, bleeding, etc. But just as there are negative conditions, there are positive ones too, such as Fury, which increases the next attack by 50%, and Galvanization, which increases damage by 50% for as long as the condition lasts. Because there's a lot to combat, I'm going to walk through a battle, providing commentary on the actions I take throughout. Alright, so I am going to walk you through a combat scenario now in Wartales, and this is not going to be an overly complicated one or difficult one, but as you're traversing the world, you will have opportunities to help people that get into fights. So in this situation, there was a group of merchants who were being attacked by some marauders, and I am stepping in to assist them. When you start out the battle, you have a chance to move your characters into the spots that are indicated with the blue square. And as you can see, sometimes the battles get like really spread out. So you want to make sure that, you're putting your characters in strategic positions, but also not like distancing themselves from each other so much so that if someone gets in trouble, they're kind of MIA. Because some of your characters will have, healing abilities or buff abilities and will be able to help each other out, but if those characters are too far away for help, then, well, you're SOL. The other thing you want to think about is, spreading out the different kinds of combat classes you have. So, for instance, Lorik and Rainian here, they are both ranged attackers, so I want to make sure that, I spread them out a little bit, and then I've got Hackert, and where's Elanine? Where'd they put her? All the way over here. So Hackert and Elanine are both rangers. They both do quick attacks with daggers, so, making sure that they're a bit spread out. I have 2 wolves right now. I've got my war horse, or war pony, really, Caspian right here. I got another melee fighter here, melee, and melee. So what I think I'm going to do in this scenario, just to make sure people don't get too spread out, is actually move these guys away from this group of enemies here. And we're going to bring them up in the area where the majority of the action is happening and let these enemies come to us. So let's see. We're going to put Mr. Swordman here. Let's put him over here. He's on the stronger side, so he can, initiate combat with multiple if needed and be okay for a bit. We're going to take our Wolf Fang, and we're going to put him, let's see, let's put him over here. We've got a hired killer. That's one of our allies. You'll see the allies in green, the enemies in red. I don't know that I want Elanine there. She's still a little squishy. She gets hurt a lot in battle, so I think I'm going to take Bardress, who is like the toughest character I have right now, and I'm going to swap them. And then we're going to put our archer guy down here so he can get good vantage on these guys. We're going to move Lorik over here because his range with the crossbow is less than the range with the longbow. We're going to swap Hiram with the horse. One thing I've noted is that, the animals that come with you in combat definitely cannot be controlled right away. I'm not sure if the horses can ever be controlled in combat, but I know the boars can and the wolves can. So I believe the horses can too. But while they're not under your control, it's better if you can initiate combat with your enemies before the animals get involved so that you can be the character that the enemy is focusing on and hitting, whereas the animal is just assisting rather than getting targeted, because the animals they tend to go down a lot easier. So I try to give them a little bit of protection by being the one to initiate combat. All right, we got there. Okay. Let's see. No, you're good there. Let's just move you over just a smidge. There we go. Okay. I think this is fine to get started. And then you can start the fight with whichever character under your control you want. And you'll see down here, this is the order of combat. But for you just get this thing that says you can use any unit that hasn't taken part in the round yet. So you get to decide which order your characters go in, which is nice. It gives you some flexibility. But the enemies, you will see what turns they're taking, and the allies as well. You don't have control over when they take their turns. Okay, so let's start with Mr. Swordsman here. So here's your actions in your bar here at the bottom. It's pretty typical for an RPG to see your hotkey bar of actions. It'll also show you any passives that you've gotten on the character from leveling up. And then, of course, these are the Valor points that we've talked about. Ending your turn, and fling from battle if you need to. So let's move this guy, and let's initiate combat with him. So we're going to move him up, and we're going to do our attack. And you'll see that attack was a free action. When something isn't a free action, you're going to see that symbol for the Valor point, and it'll tell you how many Valor points it is to use it. Okay, so generally speaking, your free actions are typically just moving and then your basic attack. Okay, and the turn. So this one's going to come down. Probably take a shot at my guy. Yeah. Okay, one of the allies is now going. It's a big hit. Okay, now let's see. I can have him go. This is who it's... This is who it has selected by default, but that doesn't mean that I have to choose him to go. I could come back over here and be like, no, I want Lorik to go or something. It's going to choose one by default, and then you decide if you want to or you want someone else to go. It's up to you. Let's see. I am probably going to have Barges go, though, because of Fang here. I want to try to guide Fang with my actions. So let's see. I am going to move down to this one. I'm going to take my free attack. And then I've got a decent amount of Valor points here. So I'm going to go ahead and use one of them to do Weakening Blow. Deals 6 to 7 damage to target and weakens for 3 rounds. And weakening, as you can see off to the side, is reducing their damage by 50%. There we go. All right, I'm not going to do any further with him for now, so we're going to end the turn. You can see that helmet icon above this guy. That means he's the leader. It also says it in his name, but if you're not hovering and you're just taking a quick look, the helmet symbol will let you know what's going on there. All right, let's see. Who do I want to go next? Let's have him go next. I've got one person close enough to hit. I think I'm actually going to get closer. Being careful of that trap there. And yeah, there are some things around the battlefield that will highlight with the red circle, and you'll see the magnifier over them. Some of them, are harmful, and you need to not step into them. And then sometimes it's items. Like this over here is a spear. So if you were to go into this area with a character, you would get an additional action underneath your passive that would allow you to throw the spear at an enemy if they're in range. All right, so now that I've moved a bit, I am going to try... I don't know if I can... I'm going to try to hit this guy. I just don't want to hit my own guy. I'm trying to be careful about where I put it. There we go. Okay, we're all right. We got there. He also has this recoil shot, and I think I want to save that for now, though. So I'm going to keep him where he is. I don't want him to get too close to the action. All right, now this guy's going. He's going to engage in combat. A lot of enemies use poison. That's just very common. Okay, we got another archer over here. Oh, he accidentally shot his own guy. Yep, there is friendly fire in this game. Definitely got to be careful with the friendly fire. Let's see. I would like to start getting at this person over here. So let me scooch my guy over this way and start shooting. Okay. And the reason that she caught on fire is because of the ability here. Randomly applies burning, bleeding, or 2 poisons. Okay, let's end your turn there. Okay, Fang's gonna initiate. Oh, and he's not following my lead. He's just going off on his own. That's annoying. So I'll have to help him out. Where's Edgar going? Okay, that's fine. All right. I am going to move forward just because I want to try to keep the enemy focused on Kiram rather than the horse. Any allies that are like merchants or refugees or, not really combat ready, they'll just basically run away from the action. All right, we're going to run up here and intercept because it looks like this guy could very well be headed for the wolf or the horse. So we're going to start attacking so that they are busy. That attack, Devious Whirlwind, is available because of the weapon that Elenine is using. That wasn't just something she got automatically. And as you can see, while these characters are slicing and dicing each other, wait till it gets off this guy. Okay, so as you hover over a character, you see 2 bars. The gray bar on top, the red bar on bottom. The gray bar on top, that is your armor, essentially, your defense. And then the red bar on bottom is your health. I'm gonna move this guy. I'm gonna come help her. We're going to use our basic daggering attack, which applies poison. You'll see a couple different options here. This option is only here because there is a torch in his other hand. And if you look at it, there are limited uses for torches. This is also a healing ability here, but I don't need to use it yet, so I'm saving it. And these guys are gonna take a little bit to get to us, but that's kind of the point. And sometimes, you want to put yourself near like the majority of the action while leaving some other enemies kind of out to dry, and just getting to them once you've thinned out the herd, and it just makes it easier. Oh, and sometimes when you have one of your handy rangers come up behind an enemy, you can just cut their throat like that and be done with it. So that's cool. All right, we are going to get him over here to kind of set up for the following turn. I'm not going to do anything though. All right, still dealing with that one, and I'm going to let him deal with it. Ooh, okay, that was a big hit. He's probably going to need some healing. Let's see. I just have to remind myself who has the healing other than Hackert. He's all the way over there. Yeah, okay. I need to get him to Hackert then. All right, so we are going to start running him towards Hackert because he's going to need a heal. He is poisoned and low on health. Ooh, that was a big hit. We're going to lose him soon. All right, let's try to get rid of this guy. There we go. So we can switch our focus over to the leader guy. There we go. Now we've got his focus away from this guy. Oh, my wolf's going to need some healing too. Oh no. All right, let's intervene here if we can without hitting the wolf. All right, hold on. We're going to reposition ourselves. Okay, just trying to be cautious there. There we go. And then we're going to use this, which is really handy. The unit and all allies in the area gain protection for 2 rounds. Only costs 1 valor point. So it reduces the damage taken by 30% for himself and his allies. And it's got a pretty big area of effect. So let's go ahead and use that. That'll help a little bit. And they're just going to run around being useless. Excuse me. And you'll sometimes see like a valor point like pop up. That's because there are passives on characters that trigger gaining valor points while you're in battle. Like for this one, every time this unit kills an enemy, you gain a valor point. So sometimes those will trigger during battle and you'll regain some valor points, which is really handy. All right, so let's see what I want to do here. I think let's help the wolf out. Looks like I need to be a little bit closer. Ooh, no, I don't want to hit the wolf though. Okay, not that one. We're not going to be able to do that. We're going to have to hit him with the fire. There we go. We're going to need to kind of be on standby with the healing ability. So we'll stay there. I wouldn't run towards the battle if you're not going to fight. Okay, let's bring you over here and help the horse. There we go. Yeah, let's finish him off. Expend valor point because we're going to get one back anyway. Okay, and then we'll come over here so that this guy gets surrounded. Let's see. Okay, they're not currently engaged. Oh, his turn already went. Let's... This guy. Okay. We're just going to keep him there. He's fine where he's at. They're going down soon. And the enemies will have their own special effects and attacks and stuff too. And if you right click on the enemy, you can look at their statuses, you can look at their stats, you can look at the skills they have, their armors and weapons and everything. So you can get all the information you need. All right, I think we should be on a new round now. So I'm going to run over to him so I can give him a heal. There we go. It's not a big heal, but it'll do in a pinch. Okay, now I'm going to come back over and jabby jab. There we go. Okay, and the turn. Do not hit my wolf. Okay, all right, that guy's down. All right, now we can start attacking the guys behind. Do this. I could heal him, but I don't know that I want to waste a heal on him. Oh, okay. Well, he's dead. That's right, because I'm going to kill him now. There you go. All right, we're going to start coming down this way. Ooh, yeah, I'm glad I saved that heal. Oh, I hate it when they run right through the elements like that. The AI can be a little dumb sometimes. All right, let's see. This guy is thoroughly surrounded. Oh, I can't use that attack. I'm going to hit somebody. I got to be careful about this one. Angle it. There we go. All right, I just want to make sure no one else gets hit, so I'm going to just go for that. There we go. Galvanization is an effect that can go off. Galvanization is an effect that can go off when an enemy is defeated and give your allies a boost. It's a damage increase by 50%. All right, let's start moving towards the other enemies now, because they're probably going to focus on these guys here. Oh, Elfie's starting to hurt. Oh, I forgot about you down there. You're gonna shoot my guy. Oof. Yes, you are. All right. I'm gonna move him next. Since he's ranged, he should be able to reach somebody. Ooh, no, not hitting the wolf. Wait. Are these enemy? Okay, just making sure. All right, one more. Sometimes he'll get a free reload, so that's what I'm using right now. Go. My wolves definitely could use some healing. Oh, horse is engaging down here, so I gotta keep an eye on that. Have you gone yet? Yeah, you already went. Okay. I'm gonna need you, so you're gonna come down. And actually, I think I'm going to use a smoke screen over here, and what this... Oh, I'm not close enough. Darn. Okay, what the smokescreen would do is to force the enemies to disengage with your characters, but I'm not quite close enough, so I can't do that. Okay, just having everyone run down. Nothing he can do yet. No! Oh, you killed my wolf. I'm pissed now. I have been trying to get 3 wolves together at the same time, and they keep killing a wolf. Every time I get in a fight, one of the wolves dies, and it's freaking driving me batty. Not a happy camper about that. Let me go heal this one. There are benefits to having 3 wolves at a time, and it's very difficult to make that happen. So you can all die fiery deaths. And sometimes this will happen as you're getting towards an end of a fight. They'll just decide to give up and run away. So you can either say no and just kill them all, or you can say okay and let them run off. Since I've already lost 1 wolf, I'm going to say okay. I don't want to risk losing the other one. And then at the end of the battle, you get to do your looting. I always take my allies' dead bodies with me so that I can bury them. I have not been taking the dead bodies of my enemies, though, because I haven't seen a point for it yet, so I'm not doing that. And then it'll show the broken shield icon whenever someone has damaged armor, a little like flesh wound icon when they're injured, and the up arrow when they are leveled up. And if you have enough raw materials, you can fix your armor, and if you have enough medicine, you can heal your characters, but right now supplies are a little bit low, so I do not have that. But that's basically it when it comes to a combat encounter. It's doing the initial setup in such a way that you hope is good for the combat. Initiating combat, using your valor points in a strategical way so that you have some available to you if you need to break out like an emergency heal or something, or if you almost have an enemy down to 0 hit points and you just need to get that last hit in. You know, trying to initiate combat with the characters that are likely to be able to take a hit or two, just stuff like that. And also, the unfortunate fact that you're probably going to lose both animals and people in battle quite a bit. I kind of lost count of how many I've lost already. So it's just something that happens a lot. And I mean, if you really can't live with, what happened during the battle, you could reload your save. It's not like it, forces you to not do that, depending on what difficulty you're on, what settings you're on. But, if you have it set up so that you can save anytime, well, then you can just load your save. And I try not to do that too often because I feel like that kind of takes away the consequences of a game like this. Because this game, it doesn't really hold your hand. It's kind of brutal. It definitely makes you regret decisions and stuff. So I try not to do it too often. But I will say I have reloaded here and there if a fight was just going horribly wrong and I was losing like multiple people. I was like, okay, this is going so badly that I don't think I can continue the game if I lose this many characters. So I'd say, do it when you feel like you need to, and maybe leave it alone if you feel like you can live with those consequences. You've finally made it to the end, and if you're still here, thank you for sticking it out. This wasn't inclusive of every single thing, as that would take forever, but it should be more than enough to get you started. If you would like to see content on the DLCs for Wartales, let us know. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, leave a comment, and consider supporting us through a YouTube membership so that we can do more content like this.